Hello again. The Sikhs are a very superior ethno-religious group from the Punjab who are fantastic soldiers, have average IQs at least as high as those of white British people, and follow a religion which emphasises charity and helping those in need. In this country, they tend to be law-abiding and industrious, and I think it fair to say they make ideal neighbours. They are not, of course, British, but that doesn't mean that they are in any sense inferior to us, merely that they are different. Here is a little thought experiment. Suppose I went to live in the Punjab and after a while took it into my head to try and teach the Sikhs there about their own history and culture and try to explain to them what their values were. How do viewers think that would go down? My guess is that it would at the very least be irritating to the Sikhs of the Punjab if an immigrant from thousands of miles away tried to teach them about their own culture and even started denouncing some Sikh or other because I didn't think he was upholding Sikh values. What a cheat. This is pretty much how I felt when I heard that an MP in Westminster called Jeevun Sandher had been shooting his mouth off about Matt Goodwin, the Reform candidate in the by-election at Gorton and Denton, which is due to be held later this month. In the description to this video, I give a link to a clip of film in which Jeevun Sandher, a Sikh, says that Matt Goodwin is not very British and that he doesn't get British values. This is such colossal cheek that I hardly know where to begin. Needless to say, I would not dream of criticising Jeevun Sandher because he is not very Sikh or because he doesn't get Sikh values. I can imagine nothing more cringe-making. Sandher claims that Britain has always been made up of different communities, which as far as it goes is perfectly true. Then he goes on to say that when different migrant communities came, those different communities came together to forge one British nation, and he specifically mentions people coming from India. This is, of course, completely untrue, but I'm not sure whether or not Jeevun Sandher knows this. Britain was forged about 1,500 years ago, when the Celts who lived here before the Roman invasion were joined by Angles, Saxons, and Jutes from what is now Germany and Scandinavia. The result was a nation which was a mixture of the Celtic and the North European. The Normans, of course, were also from Scandinavia, Vikings who had settled in what is now Normandy. Norman is a corruption of Northmen. The British nation, which was forged in this way some 1,500 years before immigrants from India and the Caribbean began arriving in large numbers, was made up of people whose ancestry was a mixture of Celtic and Saxon, with some Scandinavians thrown in. 100% white, Northwest European, in other words. Take my own ancestry, which is, I think, fairly typical of that of an average British person. My DNA was tested a few years ago, and Ancestry.com sends me regular updates as their data samples increase and they become more accurate at pinpointing precisely where various sections of DNA are from. At the latest update last week, I was told that my DNA was 47% from southern England, 2% from Devon and Somerset, 2% from northeast England, 24% Celtic and Gaelic from central Scotland and Northern Ireland, 2% from the Isle of Man, 2% from Munster in Ireland, 2% from North Wales, 1% Southern Wales, 11% from the Netherlands, 2% northwestern Germany, 3% Denmark, and 2% from Norway. That is what I mean, you see. Entirely Northwest European. That is to say, Celtic and Saxon with a dash of Scandinavian. This is what was forged as the British nation a few centuries before the Norman conquest in 1066. If I were Jeevun Sandher, I would be immensely proud of my Punjabi Sikh ancestry because the Sikhs have a great deal to be proud of. I would not, however, start criticising other people for not being British enough because it does rather lay him open to criticism himself. In the description to this video, I give a link to a clip of film in which this MP explains all about British values, British customs, and the history of the British nation. Viewers who aren't prone to high blood pressure and not at risk of having strokes might wish to watch the film.